If you've been following the Australian property market lately, you know that we have a national obsession. It's the Saturday morning ritual. You grab a latte, you stand on a sidewalk, and you watch a frantic auctioneer yell numbers at a crowd. It's theater. It's loud, it's transparent, and it's undeniably public. But recently, I've noticed a shift. There's a quieter, more mysterious method creeping into the listings. It's a method that leaves many buyers feeling like they are navigating a dark room without a flashlight. I'm talking about the EOI, or expression of interest. You might also see it marketed as sell by set date. Today, I'm going to dedicate this entire episode to deconstructing this specific sales method. Why? Because it is niche, it is unique, and if you don't understand it, you're flying blind. I want to make sure that when you encounter this, you aren't scratching your head in confusion. I want you to have a strategy. We're going to cover how the blind auction works, the psychological traps it sets for you, the difference between buying a new build versus a resale home under these rules, and, most importantly, how to ensure you don't get cut out of the deal by a lazy agent. So buckle up. Let's decode the EOI. Defining the beast. What is an EOI? Let's start with the absolute basics. What does expression of interest actually mean? In plain English, it simply means buying based on your own interest level. But the more functional term is sell by set date. The agent and the vendor pick a deadline. Let's say October 30th at 5 p.m. Your job, as the buyer, is to submit your best offer before that clock strikes 5. Now, here is where beginners get tripped up. An EOI isn't just a number written on a napkin. It is a comprehensive pitch. You aren't just offering a price. You're offering a set of conditions. When you submit your offer, you need to specify the settlement period. Do you need 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days? You need to specify the deposit terms, usually 10%. And crucially, you need to outline your special conditions. These are the safety nets. The most common one is subject to finance, meaning the contract is only valid if the bank approves your loan. Another common one is subject to building inspection, where you ensure the house isn't about to collapse. Some buyers even add clauses requiring that all electrical and gas fixtures are in working order at the time of settlement. So, when you hand over that EOI form, you're handing over a complete package. And if the property is hot, you're not alone. There will be multiple offers all sitting in the agent's inbox, waiting for that deadline. Scenario 1. The developer's litmus test. Now, before we get into the secondhand market, which is where most of you are looking, I need to touch on the first type of EOI, because it serves a completely different purpose. This is the EOI used for new projects or land releases. Imagine a developer has a massive plot of land or a new townhouse project. Before they officially launch the product to the public, they will often run an EOI campaign to collect names for a registration list. This is a marketing stress test. The developer is asking, is there actually demand for what I'm building? In this scenario, you as a buyer might fill out a form saying, I am interested in a 400 square meter block of land. My budget is X. I have my finance ready. This is my first preference, and this is my second preference. Why do they do this? It's about confidence. If a developer has 100 lots to sell, and they receive 50 or 60 strong expressions of interest before they even officially open the doors, they know the project is solid. It helps them secure funding, and it helps them decide if they should perhaps nudge the prices up a little bit before the public launch. So if you're looking at off-the-plan builds, an EOI is essentially you raising your hand to say, I'm a serious prospect, which helps the developer validate their project. Scenario 2. The dark room of resale. But let's move to the scenario that causes the most anxiety, the resale EOI. This is when a regular homeowner decides to sell their existing house using this method. It is, for all intents and purposes, a dark auction or a blind auction. To understand why this is stressful, we have to compare it to a standard auction. In a standard auction, transparency is the name of the game. If you bid $1 million and the guy next to you bids $1,005,000, you see him do it. You know exactly what the market value is at that second. You know that if you bid $1,006,000, you're winning. In an EOI, that transparency is gone. You are bidding against ghosts. You don't know what the other potential buyers are offering. This creates two distinct nightmare scenarios for a buyer. Nightmare number one, you overpay. Let's say you love the house. You offer $1 million because you don't want to lose it. You and the keys. Congratulations. But later, you find out that the next highest offer was only $950,000. You effectively just donated $50,000 to the seller because you were flying blind. That hurts. Nightmare number two, you are too conservative. You think the house is worth $1 million and you could pay $1 million. But you try to be clever. You think, I'll offer $950,000 and see what happens. Then you get a call saying the property sold to someone else for $960,000. That is a specific kind of pain. You realize you lost your dream home over a $10,000 difference, an amount you would have happily paid if you had known. But because you didn't know the price to beat, you missed out. Strategy, the internal anchor. So how do we navigate this? If we can't see the other bidders, how do we avoid overpaying or underbidding? The first step is valuation. You cannot rely on the agent to tell you the truth about the price, and you can't rely on the competition to set the price because you can't see them. You need to have your own internal scale. Just like in a private treaty sale, you must do your homework. You need to look at comparable sales in the area. Look at recent sales of houses with similar land size, similar interior space, and similar conditions. If a comparable house down the street sold for $1 million last week, that is your anchor. Even if the agent is quoting $900,000 to try and lure people in, your research tells you the real number. This research is your shield. It prevents you from wildly overpaying, but it also gives you the confidence to bid strong enough to win. You must have a logical basis for your number. Strategy, interrogating the agent. The second strategy involves communication. Now, I want to be clear about the legalities here. In an EOI or silent auction, an agent generally cannot tell you, hey, the highest offer is $980,000, so you need to pay $985,000. That violates the rules of the blind format. However, that doesn't mean you can't ask questions. And it doesn't mean the agent can't give you hints. You need to become a detective. You should be asking things like, how many open homes have you held? What was the average attendance? Have you received any formal written offers yet? How many offers are currently on the table? Are the owners considering selling prior to the deadline? Even though the agent can't give you a specific number, their reaction to your offer is a massive clue. If you say, I'm thinking of offering roughly $980,000, and the agent goes quiet or looks uninterested, you know you are off the mark. If they say, that would be a very competitive offer, you know you're in a hot zone. Use these interactions to triangulate where you stand. You are deducing the truth through their responses. The seller's perspective, why hide the price? Before we get to the most critical tip for buyers, let's briefly look at this from the seller's point of view. Why would a vendor choose this secretive method over a public auction? It's about risk management. Auctions are high risk, high reward. If you go to auction and nobody bids, the property is passed in. This is public knowledge. Everyone can search online and see that the house failed to sell at $1.05 million. That failure sticks to the property like a bad smell. Future buyers will look at that and think, nobody wanted it, so I can lowball them. An EOI protects the seller from that public embarrassment. If the deadline passes and they don't get the price they want, they can just keep the property on the market. They can negotiate privately. The new buyers walking in next week have no idea that the EOI campaign failed. They don't know how many offers were made. So, for a seller, EOI offers higher control. It allows them to test the market without the public pass-in statistic damaging their campaign. And typically, the pricing strategy in an EOI is similar to an auction. Agents will often quote a price range that is slightly lower than the expected sale price, usually by about 5% to 10%, to generate that competition and drive the blind bids upward. The golden rule, the second chance. Now, we arrive at the most important part of this episode. If you take one thing away from today, let it be this. There's a danger in EOI campaigns that many buyers don't see coming. Some real estate agents are, let's say, transactional. They want the deal done. Imagine the owner wants $1 million. A buyer offers $1 million a week before the deadline. A lazy agent might just say, great, sold, and sign a contract. Or the deadline hits. Buyer A offers $960,000. Buyer B offers $950,000. The agent takes the $960,000 to the owner, they sign it, and it's over. Buyer B, who might have been willing to pay $970,000 if they knew they were losing, never gets a phone call. They're just cut out. This happens all the time. Agents sometimes just take the best offer on the table and don't bother to circle back to the underbidders. You cannot let this happen to you. If you're a buyer, you must demand a second chance. When you submit your offer, you need to explicitly tell the agent, "Here is my offer. However, if there's a higher offer, I want to know. I may be able to increase my price. Do not sell this property without giving me a second opportunity to bid." You have to advocate for yourself. Most good professional agents will do this anyway. They will call the top 3 bidders and say, "Hey, you're close. Do you want to increase?" Because that gets the best price for the seller. But you cannot assume the agent is professional. You have to force the issue. And if you are a seller listening to this, tell your agent the same thing. Instruct them, "Do not sell my house until you have called every single person who made an offer to see if they have more money to spend." That is how you maximize your return. Conclusion. So there you have it. The expression of interest isn't as scary as it seems. It's a poker game where everyone holds their cards close to their chest. To win, you need to do your own valuation so you aren't flying blind. Ask the agent probing questions to gauge interest. Fight for your second chance. Make sure you are in the room, or at least on the phone, when the final decision is made. It's about turning a blind auction into a calculated negotiation. I hope this deep dive helps you navigate your next property purchase with a little less stress and a lot more strategy.